My name is Jessica Moore. I am 68 years old. I spent 31 years as a school librarian in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I raised one son on my own. His name is Bradley, and last Christmas, I found out he had been stealing from me for 2 years. Not a little, not a mistake. $47,000. Gone. My retirement savings buffer. The money I set aside when my pension was cut in 2019. The account I built dollar by dollar after my husband, Gary, died. And I realized I was completely on my own. $47,000. Cleaned out by my son and his wife. While I sat in my living room and believed every single word they told me. But let me start where it actually started. Not with the bank. With a Christmas card. It was a Tuesday morning, December 3rd. I was sitting at my kitchen table in the house Gary and I bought in 1987. The same house I've lived in for 37 years. I still have the same yellow curtains in the kitchen. I put them up myself the spring after we moved in, and I never changed them because they make the morning light look like honey. I was drinking my coffee and going through the mail when I saw the envelope. It had Bradley's handwriting on it, which was strange, because Bradley lives 12 minutes away. He doesn't send cards. I opened it. Inside was a Christmas card, a red cardinal on a snowy branch, the kind you find at CVS, and a handwritten note. Mom, we want to take you to dinner Friday. Just the three of us. We have some good news to share. Love, Bradley and Ann. I set the card on the table and smiled. Good news. Maybe Ann was pregnant. They had been trying. I knew that much. Maybe Bradley had gotten that promotion he mentioned back in September. I propped the card against the salt shaker and went back to my coffee. I felt warm. The way a mother feels when she thinks her child is happy. That Friday dinner never happened. 2 days after I received that card, I got a letter from my bank. First Federal Savings. I have banked there since 1991. The letter was brief. It said my savings account number ending in 4417, had fallen below the minimum balance threshold and would be subject to a monthly maintenance fee unless the balance was restored within 30 days. I read that sentence 3 times. Below minimum balance. I keep 4 accounts at First Federal. My checking, a small Christmas Club account I still use from habit, my monthly pension deposit account, and the savings account ending in 4417. The savings account I never touch. The account I treated like a locked box. I set the letter down. I picked it back up. I looked at the account number again. 4,417. That was right. I drove to the bank that same afternoon. Not to the ATM. Inside. I asked the teller, a young woman named Cassie who has helped me for 2 years, to print me a transaction history on account 4417. She printed it, handed it across the counter with a small smile. I looked down at the paper. 62 withdrawals over 22 months. All online transfers. All between $400 and $900. All going to the same external account. I had not made a single one of them. I gripped the edge of the counter. Cassie said something. I didn't hear what. My eyes were running down the dates. February of last year. March. April. Every single month. Sometimes twice. 62 times. While I sat in my kitchen under the yellow curtains and thought my son was doing fine, I asked Cassie to call the branch manager. Her name was Linda Hartley. I sat in her office for 40 minutes. When I left, I had filed a formal fraud alert, frozen the account, and I was holding a piece of paper with the name and phone number of a federally certified bank fraud investigator. His name was Robert Callahan, and I called him from the parking lot before I even started my car. I am going to tell you exactly what happened next. All of it. Because if you are watching this and you are over 60 and you have a family member who has access to anything financial in your name, you need to hear this story. Let me tell you about my son, Bradley David Moore, 41 years old, raised in this same house on Maple Creek Road. He was a serious child, quiet. He read everything he could find, probably because I brought him library books by the boxful. He played baseball in middle school, not because he was talented, but because he tried hard and the coach kept him on the roster out of pure respect. Bradley went to Penn State on a partial scholarship. He studied business. He graduated and came back to Harrisburg and got a job at a property management company called Ridley and Associates. He has worked there for 14 years. He met Travers at a work conference in Philadelphia in 2011. They were married in 2014 in a small ceremony at Valley Green Park. I wore a blue dress. I paid for the flowers, and is 40 years old. She is a licensed real estate agent. She is charming when she wants to be. She always called me Jess instead of Mom. She said Mom felt too formal, that she had her own mother for that. I accepted it. I told myself it was just her way. Now, I wonder what else I accepted that I should have questioned. Gary died in 2015. Heart attack. He was 62 years old, and he had been healthy his whole life. And then one Tuesday morning in September, he was gone. Bradley took it hard. I took it harder. But I kept going. That is what I do. After Gary died, I made Bradley a co-signer on my checking account, in case something happened to me, in case I had a health emergency and couldn't manage the bills. He was my only child. It made sense. What I did not do, what I am absolutely certain I did not do, is add him to the savings account. Account 4417. That account was mine alone. But when Linda Hartley, the branch manager, pulled the account history, she found something that turned my stomach. 14 months ago, a change was made to the online banking profile, linked to account 4417. A new external transfer destination was added. The IP address used to make that change traced back to a device registered in Harrisburg. Linda wouldn't tell me whose device. That was for the investigator. But she told me this. The login credentials used were mine. My username. My password. Someone had my login. I sat in that chair and went back through the past 2 years in my mind, piece by piece. 3 years ago, when I got a new laptop and couldn't figure out how to set up the online banking, Bradley came over and helped me. He sat at this table for 2 hours. He set up the passwords. He wrote them on an index card and put it in my desk drawer. Because I told him my memory wasn't what it used to be. Because I trusted him completely. That index card is still in my desk drawer. I checked that same night. It was there. Exactly where Bradley put it. He knew the password. He had always known the password. I had handed it to him myself. I also thought about Anne is a real estate agent. She handles financial transactions every week. Closings, transfers, escrow accounts. She knows how money moves. She knows what leaves a paper trail and what doesn't. 6 months ago, over Sunday dinner, and mentioned that she and Bradley were having a hard year. The real estate market had slowed. Her commissions were down. Bradley's company had gone through a restructure, and his bonus hadn't come through. I listened. I felt sorry for them. I told, and if they ever needed help with anything, they should just ask me. They didn't ask. They just took. Now, I want to stop here for a moment, because I know some of you watching this are thinking, how did she not notice for 2 years? And I want to be honest with you about that. I am 68 years old. I have a pension that deposits the same amount every month. I pay my bills automatically. I check my checking account the way most seniors do when something feels off. My savings account, I logged into it maybe 4 times a year just to confirm the money was there. I never looked at the full transfer history. I only saw the balance. The balance had dropped, but slowly, 62 small withdrawals over 22 months. Small enough that no single one would alarm me. Large enough that together they added up to $47,000. That is not an accident. That is a plan. Someone designed those withdrawals to stay below the amount that would trigger an automatic bank alert. Someone who knew how banks flag suspicious activity. Someone with real estate and financial experience. Someone named Ann. Robert Callahan answered on the second ring. His voice was calm. Even. The kind of voice that has heard bad things before and knows how to hold steady. I am sorry this happened to you, Mrs. Moore. I want you to write down 3 things for me right now. Do not do anything else until you have written them down. I pulled a pen from my purse. My hand was shaking. 1. Do not contact the suspected individuals. Not yet. 2. Do not access your online banking again from your personal devices until we meet. 3. Do not tell anyone in your family, anyone that you have spoken to me. I wrote every word. We met the following morning at his office on Market Street in downtown Harrisburg. Robert Callahan is in his 50s. Gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses, a plain navy suit. He works independently. He is a certified fraud examiner contracted by banks, attorneys, and families in cases of financial exploitation. He told me he handles elder financial abuse cases every single week. Let me explain what he told me, because every woman watching this needs to understand how this kind of fraud works. Elder financial abuse is the fastest growing form of fraud in the United States. According to the FBI, seniors lose more than $3 billion a year to financial exploitation. But here is the part most people don't know. In more than half of all reported cases, the perpetrator is a family member, not a stranger, not a scammer calling from overseas, someone you raised, someone you fed, someone who came to Sunday dinner and knew exactly where you kept your financial paperwork. Robert explained how the pattern typically works. He called it the slow drain method. Step 1, the perpetrator gains access. This almost always happens through something innocent, a password shared for safety, a banking app installed to help you, being added to an account just in case. Step 2, they test the water. 1 small transfer, $200, $300. They wait to see if you notice. Step 3, when you don't notice, the amounts increase slightly. They stay under $1,000 to avoid automatic bank fraud flags. They keep a consistent rhythm. Same time of month, same size, to blend into normal-looking account activity. Step 4, they build a destination. The money goes to an account you don't know exists, often a joint account, an LLC, or a business account, something that gives the funds the appearance of legitimacy. I sat across from Robert and listened to every word. And one by one, I recognized each step. Bradley had set up my online banking. He had the password. He knew my account numbers. And had financial knowledge and a license that gave her access to business banking structures. Robert asked me a question. Mrs. Moore, is there any business or account in Bradley or Ann's name that you know of? An LLC, a real estate holding company, anything like that? I thought. 2 years ago, maybe a little more, Bradley mentioned that and was starting a property investment side business. Something small. House flipping, he said. He seemed proud of her. I congratulated her. I didn't ask for details. I was just happy they had a new project. Robert wrote that down. He wrote slowly, deliberately. Then he looked up. That is likely where the money went. Over the next 4 days, Robert Callahan did something I could not have done alone. He subpoenaed the transaction records from First Federal under the bank's elder fraud protocol. He traced the external account number, the destination of all 62 transfers, to a business checking account at a different bank entirely. The account was registered to a Pennsylvania LLC called AMT Property Holdings, AMT, and Marie Travers, her initials. The LLC had been formed 18 months ago, 2 months after the first transfer from my account. Robert set the records on his desk and lined them up side by side. My bank statement, the AMT Property Holdings account history. Every single withdrawal from my account corresponded to a deposit into AMT's account within 24 hours. 62 times. Every dollar matched. I asked Robert the question I had been carrying since I sat in Linda Hartley's office. Does Bradley know? Robert was quiet for a moment. The LLC has 2 registered members. And Moore. She uses your son's last name for the business. And Bradley David Moore. He knew. He had always known. I looked out Robert's window. Market Street below. People walking. A woman pushing a stroller. A delivery truck idling at the corner. Normal life happening 6 stories down. Bradley had sat at my dinner table. He had called me on Sundays. He had asked me how I was sleeping, while his name was on a company that was emptying my savings account. I looked back at Robert. What do we do now? Robert Callahan took 7 days. 7 days to build the full picture. I want to walk you through what he found, because every detail matters. And because every senior woman watching this deserves to know that these schemes are not random. They are deliberate. They are designed by people who know you, and they count on the fact that you will feel too ashamed or too heartbroken to report it. The $47,000 went to AMT Property Holdings. Here is what happened to it after that. $22,000, almost half, was used to purchase a small row house on Chester Avenue in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. A flip property. Bradley and then bought it under the LLC, renovated it using contractors they paid in cash, and sold it 11 months later for a profit of just over $18,000. That profit did not go back to me. It went back into AMT Property Holdings to fund a second property. The remaining $25,000 was divided. $12,000 paid off the balance on N's personal car loan, a 2021 Honda Passport. $8,000 covered a home renovation on their house, a new kitchen backsplash, new appliances, and a deck extension on the back of the house. I know this because I went to that house for Thanksgiving 2 years ago. I admired that kitchen and told me she found great deals at the Lowe's Scratch and Dent sale. The remaining $5,000 went to a weekend trip to the Outer Banks. Robert pulled the receipts. Hotel, restaurant, spa. A 4-day vacation in August of last year. I was home alone that August. I had a small leak in my kitchen ceiling from a rainstorm. I told Bradley about it. He said he was too busy to come help and suggested I call a handyman. He was at the beach. On my money. Robert also found something I had not expected. A second account, not connected to AMT Property Holdings. A personal savings account at a credit union, opened in N's name only just 4 months ago. The account had $11,400 in it, Robert believed, and the record supported this, that N had begun quietly moving money out of the AMT LLC account and into a personal account she held alone, not shared with Bradley, just hers. I have thought about that moment many times since, because what it told me was this, and was not just stealing from me. She was also preparing to steal from Bradley. She was building herself an exit, a secret account, a separate life. While my son's name sat on the fraud paperwork, she had used both of us. I sat with Robert on a Wednesday afternoon with this stack of documents in front of me. My money, their lives, a beach trip and a new kitchen and a property portfolio, all built on what I worked 31 years to save. Robert asked me a question. Mrs. Moore, before we go any further, do you want to give your son the chance to come forward voluntarily? I can arrange a meeting. I've done it before. Sometimes when the non-initiating spouse realizes the full legal exposure, they cooperate. It changes the outcome significantly. I thought about Bradley, his baseball games, his face at Gary's funeral, the Christmas card in his handwriting. Good news, Mom. I thought about how he had called me every Sunday since Gary died because he said he worried about me being alone. And then I thought about 62 withdrawals. 2 years. Not one phone call to say he was sorry. No, I said, I want to know everything first. All of it. Before anyone says a word to either of them. Robert nodded. Then I want you to come to my office on December 20th. Bring nothing except yourself. I'll have everything ready. I drove home. I made dinner. I sat at my kitchen table and ate by myself under the yellow curtains. I did not cry. I did not call anyone. I just sat there. And I thought about what it means to raise a child and believe your whole life that you know who they are. The hardest 2 weeks of my life were the 2 weeks between finding out and doing something about it. Not because I was afraid, because I still had to act normal. Robert had been very clear with me. Do not change your behavior. Do not act differently around them. Do not give them any reason to suspect you know. If they move money or close accounts before we file the formal report, it complicates everything. So I waited. I went to church on Sunday. I went to my water aerobics class at the YMCA on Tuesday and Thursday. I read my library books. I fed the cardinals at the bird feeder Gary put up in 2009. And I answered the phone when Bradley called. He called the Sunday after I met with Robert. Same as always. Around noon. Hey, Mom. How are you doing? Fine, I said. Just had lunch. Good. It's cold out there. You keeping warm? I am. And says hi. Tell her hello. 2 minutes. Normal. Comfortable. When I hung up, I sat with the phone in my lap for a long time. I thought about something Robert had told me in our first meeting. He said that in most elder financial abuse cases, especially when the perpetrator is a family member, the victim's hardest moment is not the discovery. It is the period before the report, when you know the truth, and you have to keep carrying it alone inside a relationship that hasn't changed on the outside. He was right. On December 12th, Bradley and came for what they called a quick visit. They do this occasionally. Drop by on a weekday evening with something from the pizza place on Route 22 and brings a bottle of wine she doesn't finish. Bradley fixes something small around the house, a loose cabinet handle, a gutter clogged with leaves. They came in and hugged me. Her perfume smelled like something expensive. It always does. We sat at this same kitchen table. We ate pizza from the box. Bradley talked about a difficult client at Ridley and Associates and talked about a property she had been showing in Camp Hill, a Victorian with original hardwood floors. She said it was gorgeous. I listened. I asked questions. I laughed when they laughed at one point and said, Jess, you seem quiet tonight. Everything okay? I looked at her. Her face. Concerned. Open. Warm. Just a little tired. I said, the cold weather gets into my knees. She patted my hand. Her hand was warm. The same hand that had set up 62 transfers from my savings account. I did not flinch. When they left that night, Bradley hugged me at the door. He is tall. He gets that from Gary. He held on a little longer than usual. Love you, Mom. Love you too, I said. I watched their car back out of my driveway. I watched the taillights turn right onto Maple Creek Road and disappear. Then I went inside and I sat down at the kitchen table and I let myself feel it just for a moment. Not rage, not grief, something quieter than both of those. The feeling of knowing something is over, really over, and the particular sadness of being the only one in the room who knows it yet. I want to pause here. Because I know some of you are thinking, why didn't she just confront them right then, at the table, with the pizza boxes still open? And the answer is this. If you confront someone who has stolen from you before the documentation is complete, before the accounts are frozen, before the legal filing is in place, they have time to move money. They have time to delete records. They have time to tell a story that sounds better than yours. Robert Callahan taught me that. Preparation is not patience. It is power. December 20th, 8 days away. I could wait 8 more days. December 20th, a Thursday. It had snowed overnight. Just an inch, the kind that makes Harrisburg look like a Christmas card but melts by noon. I drove to Market Street with a travel mug of coffee and my purse and nothing else. Robert met me in the lobby. We went up to the conference room on the 6th floor, the same one where I had sat the week before. The file on the table was thicker now, much thicker. Robert sat across from me. He folded his hands. He spoke clearly and without rushing. Mrs. Moore, we have a complete evidentiary record. The 62 transfers from your account to AMT Property Holdings. The business registration naming both Bradley and Moore as LLC members. The property purchase on Chester Avenue and the sale proceeds. The personal account in N's name holding $11,400. The IP records confirming the login device used to add the external transfer account. He paused. The question now is what you want to do with it. I asked him to explain my options. All of them. Clearly. He did. Option 1, civil lawsuit. I file a civil claim against Bradley and Moore for the recovery of $47,000 plus damages. The case could take 12 to 18 months. They would be served, they could contest it. And if we won, a judge would order restitution. If they had no assets, collection could be difficult. Option 2, criminal fraud report to the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office, combined with a report to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Elder Financial Abuse Unit. Criminal charges for financial exploitation of an older adult, unauthorized access to banking systems, and wire transfer fraud. If charged and convicted, penalties include fines and prison time. This also triggers an automatic civil restitution order in most cases. Option 3, both. He said it simply, both. The civil suit for recovery, the criminal report for accountability. I asked which he recommended. He looked at me the way someone looks when they have sat across from many women in my situation, and they know what answer they would want if it were them. Both. Always both. One recovers your money. The other says to the world, and to anyone who might do this to another senior, that there are real consequences. I said, then we do both. He nodded. He opened the top folder. I want to explain one more thing to you first, because the timing matters, and you deserve to know. He explained that the Dauphin County DA had a specialized elder abuse unit that moved quickly on cases with solid documentation. Our documentation was unusually solid. Robert believed a formal investigative warrant could be executed within 4 to 5 days of filing. That would put us at Christmas Eve. I sat with that. He continued, Bradley and host a family Christmas gathering every year. Is that correct? Yes. Christmas Eve. Their house. Bradley's house is a 3-bedroom colonial on Sycamore Hill Drive. He bought it in 2016. I helped with the down payment, $15,000. A gift, Robert said. If we file today, the investigative warrant will likely be executable on December 24th. The Elder Fraud Unit typically serves papers in person at the respondent's known address. If there is a gathering at that address on that date, there will be witnesses present. I understood what he was saying. He wasn't suggesting it. He was informing me, letting me choose. I thought about Christine Andler's story, the woman whose sister forged her name. She stood on a porch in the snow and listened to her family toast her absence. Then the sheriff knocked on the door. I thought about what it meant to be seen, to have the truth visible, in a room full of people who thought you would never find out. I picked up the pen. I signed every document, the civil complaint, the criminal fraud referral, the elder abuse report, each signature clean and steady. My real signature, the one no one could fake. Robert filed everything that afternoon by 4 p.m. Then I drove home. I made soup. I watched the news. I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I slept better than I had in 2 years. December 20th, a Thursday. It had snowed overnight. Just an inch, the kind that makes Harrisburg look like a Christmas card but melts by noon. I drove to Market Street with a travel mug of coffee and my purse and nothing else. Robert met me in the lobby. We went up to the conference room on the 6th floor, the same one where I had sat the week before. The file on the table was thicker now, much thicker. Robert sat across from me. He folded his hands. He spoke clearly and without rushing. Mrs. Moore, we have a complete evidentiary record. The 62 transfers from your account to AMT Property Holdings. The business registration naming both Bradley and Moore as LLC members. The property purchase on Chester Avenue and the sale proceeds. The personal account in N's name holding $11,400. The IP records confirming the login device used to add the external transfer account. He paused. The question now is what you want to do with it. I asked him to explain my options. All of them. Clearly. He did. Option 1, civil lawsuit. I file a civil claim against Bradley and Moore for the recovery of $47,000 plus damages. The case could take 12 to 18 months. They would be served. They could contest it. And if we won, a judge would order restitution. If they had no assets, collection could be difficult. Option 2, criminal fraud report to the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office, combined with a report to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Elder Financial Abuse Unit. Criminal charges for financial exploitation of an older adult, unauthorized access to banking systems, and wire transfer fraud. If charged and convicted, penalties include fines and prison time. This also triggers an automatic civil restitution order in most cases. Option 3, both. He said it simply, both. The civil suit for recovery, the criminal report for accountability. I asked which he recommended. He looked at me the way someone looks when they have sat across from many women in my situation, and they know what answer they would want if it were them. Both. Always both. One recovers your money. The other says to the world, and to anyone who might do this to another senior, that there are real consequences. I said, then we do both. He nodded. He opened the top folder. I want to explain one more thing to you first, because the timing matters, and you deserve to know. He explained that the Dauphin County DA had a specialized elder abuse unit that moved quickly on cases with solid documentation. Our documentation was unusually solid. Robert believed a formal investigative warrant could be executed within 4 to 5 days of filing. That would put us at Christmas Eve. I sat with that. He continued, Bradley and host a family Christmas gathering every year. Is that correct? Yes. Christmas Eve. Their house. Bradley's house is a 3-bedroom colonial on Sycamore Hill Drive. He bought it in 2016. I helped with the down payment, $15,000. A gift, Robert said. If we file today, the investigative warrant will likely be executable on December 24th. The Elder Fraud Unit typically serves papers in person at the respondent's known address. If there is a gathering at that address on that date, there will be witnesses present. I understood what he was saying. He wasn't suggesting it. He was informing me, letting me choose. I thought about Christine Andler's story, the woman whose sister forged her name. She stood on a porch in the snow and listened to her family toast her absence. Then the sheriff knocked on the door. I thought about what it meant to be seen, to have the truth visible, in a room full of people who thought you would never find out. I picked up the pen. I signed every document, the civil complaint, the criminal fraud referral, the elder abuse report, each signature clean and steady. My real signature, the one no one could fake. Robert filed everything that afternoon by 4 p.m. Then I drove home. I made soup. I watched the news. I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I slept better than I had in 2 years. December 24th, Christmas Eve. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. I made coffee. I fed the cardinals. I sat in Gary's chair by the front window and watched the snow come down. Bradley had texted me the night before. Mom, you're still coming tonight, right? We're eating at 6. I'm making that pot, roast you like. I texted back, I'll be there. And I meant it. At 11 a.m., Robert Callahan called. The investigative team is in position, Mrs. Moore. Agent Sandra Wells from the Elder Financial Crimes Unit will lead. They'll serve the papers at approximately 5:30 p.m. During the gathering, as expected, she has asked if you will be present. I said yes. I got dressed carefully. Navy blue slacks, a cream-colored blouse, my pearl earrings, the ones Gary gave me on our 30th anniversary. I brush my hair the way I always do. I put the manila envelope Robert had given me, a copy of the full case file, in my handbag. I drove to Sycamore Hill Drive. I arrived at 5:15 p.m., 15 minutes before Agent Wells. Bradley and Ann's house was lit up for Christmas. The door wreath, the window candles, the outdoor lights, and had strung along the porch railing every December since they moved in. I could see people through the front window. Bradley's father-in-law, Don Travers, in his usual armchair. Ann's sister, Karen, setting the table. Bradley standing in the kitchen doorway with a dish towel over his shoulder, the way he has done since he was 14 years old, and I made him help with Thanksgiving dishes. I sat in my car. I watched the house. At 5:28, a gray sedan pulled up behind me, then a second car. Government plates. Agent Sandra Wells got out first. She was in her 40s. Professional blazer. A badge on a lanyard. She came to my window. Mrs. Moore, you ready? I nodded. I got out of the car. The air was cold and still. The snow from that morning had crusted over. My heels made a sharp sound on the frozen driveway. We walked to the door together. Me, Agent Wells, and a second agent whose name I never caught. I rang the bell. Bradley answered. He was still holding the dish towel. He saw me first. His face opened into a smile. The real one, the one that goes all the way to his eyes, the smile he has had since he was a little boy. Mom, you made it. Then he saw Agent Wells. The smile didn't fall all at once. It just stopped, like a clock that ran out of wind mid-tick. Agent Wells stepped forward. Bradley Moore? I'm Agent Sandra Wells with the Pennsylvania Attorney General's Elder Financial Crimes Unit. I have a warrant for your presence and for the presence of and more in connection with a financial exploitation investigation. This warrant also authorizes us to review documentation related to AMT property holdings. The dish towel fell. He didn't notice. He looked at me. I looked back. Behind him, Anne had come to the kitchen doorway. She was holding a glass of red wine. When she saw the agents, the color went out of her face so completely it was as if someone turned down a light. The room went still. Don Travers stood up from his armchair. Karen stopped mid-reach at the table. A child, Anne's niece, maybe 5 years old, ran in from the back room, saw the adults frozen, and stopped. Quiet, completely quiet, except for the Christmas Music playing from the kitchen speaker. A Nat King Cole song. Something about chestnuts. Agent Wells stepped inside. Her partner followed. I followed them both. I set my handbag down on the entryway table. I removed the manila envelope. I walked to the dining room table, Karen's half-set table, the candles not yet lit, the good china out, and I laid the documents flat. One by one, the transaction history, the AMT property holdings registration, the property purchase records, the wire transfer summaries, N's personal account with the $11,400. I turned to the room. I want everyone here to see this, because the truth has a right to be seen. Don Travers walked to the table first. He looked down at the documents. He is a retired postal worker from Lancaster. He has steady hands. His hands shook a little as he picked up the transaction history. Bradley said my name. Just Mom. One word, like a question and an apology, and a child calling out all at once. I looked at him. 62 transfers, Bradley, 2 years, $47,000. He didn't deny it. He sat down in one of the dining room chairs. He put his elbows on his knees. He put his face in his hands. And did what Anne always does when the situation turns against her. She tried to manage it. This is a misunderstanding. Jess, let me explain. Agent Wells stepped between us. Her voice was not unkind, but it was final. Mrs. Moore, I need you both to come with me. Don Travers set the transaction history back on the table. He looked at his daughter. He didn't say anything. He just looked, and then he looked at me. I'm sorry, Jessica, he said. He reached over and turned off the Nat King Cole song. What I didn't know on Christmas Eve, what none of us knew, was that the investigation was not finished. Robert called me on December 26th. There is a development you need to hear about, he said. Agent Wells and her team had spent Christmas Eve and Christmas Day reviewing the full AMT Property Holdings financial records. What they found in the LLC's internal transfers told a different story than I had originally understood. Over the past 4 months, and had been quietly moving money out of the joint LLC account and into the personal savings account that Robert had found, the one in her name only at the credit union. We already knew that, but the investigation also found that Anne had 6 weeks ago begun taking steps to dissolve the LLC. She had contacted a business attorney. She had not told Bradley and had been preparing to walk away from the business. From Bradley, with the money, leaving Bradley holding every piece of the fraud paperwork. Robert explained it plainly. If Anne had dissolved the LLC before you filed, if we had been 2 or 3 months later, Anne would have closed the business account, transferred the remaining funds to her personal account, and potentially claimed to investigators that the transfers were Bradley's idea, and she was a passive member who didn't know the source of the funds. Bradley would have had no defense. His name was on everything. Hers was in the back. I let that settle. Then I asked the question that had been sitting in my chest since Christmas Eve. Did Bradley know she was planning to leave? No. Agent Wells interviewed him separately. He cooperated fully. He said the original plan, the one Anne brought to him 2 years ago, was to use a bridge loan from the family to start the property investment business, pay it back with the first sale proceeds, and build something real. That is what she told him. A bridge loan. From me. Without asking me. Bradley said he knew it was wrong. He said he told Anne twice that they needed to tell me. She told him I would say no, and it would cause a fight. She told him it was temporary. She told him the first house sale would cover everything, and they'd pay me back before I noticed. He believed her. Or he wanted to. The difference doesn't matter much to a judge, but it matters a little to a mother. Bradley called me himself on December 27th. I answered. He talked for a while. He apologized. More than once. Not the smooth practiced kind of apology. The broken kind. The kind that doesn't know where to stop. I let him talk. When he finished, I said 3 things. I love you. This was wrong. You will make it right. Then I hung up, not because I didn't feel anything, because I felt too much to say more, and did not call, and had a lawyer by December 26th. She was already building her defense. 2 kinds of people when the truth comes out. The ones who turn toward it, and the ones who reach for a lawyer. Bradley turned toward it and reached for a lawyer. That difference would matter enormously in the months ahead. I want to tell you what happened. All of it. Because you stayed with this story and you deserve to see how it ends. January. The Dauphin County District Attorney filed formal charges. Bradley David Moore. 1 count of financial exploitation of an older adult under Pennsylvania law, a 2nd-degree felony. And Marie Travers Moore, 3 counts. Financial exploitation of an older adult, wire fraud, unauthorized access to financial accounts, 2 felonies and 1 misdemeanor. Pennsylvania law, Title 18, Section 3922.1 specifically protects adults over 60 from financial exploitation by caregivers, family members, or people in a position of trust. The law was designed for exactly this situation. For women like me, because of Bradley's immediate and full cooperation with investigators, his attorney negotiated a plea agreement. Bradley pled guilty to a reduced charge, a 3rd-degree felony with no prison time. He was sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation. Full restitution, $47,000, payable over 7 years. A permanent felony record. The probation was not gentle. Monthly check-ins, restrictions on travel, financial monitoring for the full 5 years. And the felony stays on his record. For every job application, every background check, for the rest of his life. He lost his position at Ridley and Associates. They terminated him in January. Human resources policy. They could not keep a property manager with a financial fraud conviction. He is working now at a building supply company. Less money, different work, but he shows up every day and did not cooperate. She contested every charge. Her attorney argued that she was the primary business operator and that Bradley had full knowledge and equal participation. The forensic financial records told a different story, specifically and secret personal account, and the steps she had taken toward dissolving the LLC without Bradley's knowledge. The jury believed the records and was convicted on all 3 counts. Sentencing, 20 months in state prison, followed by 3 years probation. Full restitution ordered. Her real estate license was revoked by the Pennsylvania Real Estate Commission within 30 days of conviction. She will not work in real estate again. Bradley filed for divorce in February. It was finalized in September. AMT Property Holdings was dissolved by court order. The Chester Avenue property, the one purchased with my money, was sold. The proceeds, combined with and sentenced restitution payments, began coming back to me in quarterly disbursements starting in April. As of today, I have recovered $31,000. The remaining $16,000 is on a court-ordered payment schedule. Robert Callahan believes I will receive it in full. Let me tell you what else happened. When Ann's arrest was reported in the local paper, the Patriot News ran a brief item. I received calls from 3 women I know through church. 2 of them told me they had noticed unusual activity in their own accounts. They had not reported it. They were embarrassed. They thought maybe they had made mistakes. They thought no one would believe them. I gave them Robert Callahan's number. Both of them filed reports. Both cases are ongoing. This is why I am telling you this story. Not for attention. Not for sympathy. Because $3 billion a year leaves the accounts of people like you and me. And most of it leaves quietly. Because we are ashamed. Because we don't want to believe the person we trusted did this. Because we are afraid No one will take us seriously. You should be taken seriously. The law was written for you. The investigators exist for you. Do not wait. New Year's Day morning, January 1st, 7:15 a.m. The world outside my kitchen window was white, perfectly, completely white. The kind of snow that falls overnight and smooths everything flat, the way a fresh page looks before anything is written on it. I made my coffee. I fed the cardinals. I sat in Gary's chair. I thought about the year that had just ended. I thought about the bank letter in early December, about sitting in Linda Hartley's office with my hands flat on her desk, trying not to fall apart, about Robert Callahan's voice on the phone, calm, certain, I've done this before, about the look on Bradley's face when Agent Wells said his name at the front door, about the dish towel on the floor, about Anne's wine glass, and the way her face went pale, about Don Travers saying, "I'm sorry, Jessica," and I thought about something else. I thought about the index card in my desk drawer, the one Bradley wrote my passwords on 3 years ago, the one I kept because I trusted him, and I thought it was the practical thing to do. I got up from the chair. I went to my desk. I opened the drawer and found the card. I tore it into 8 pieces. I dropped them in the trash. That was the first thing. Here is what I want to tell you, every woman watching this, especially if you are in your 60s or 70s or older, living alone, managing your own finances. These are the things I know now that I wish I had known before. Number 1, check your savings account, not just the balance. The full transaction history. Every month. Log in. Print it out if you need to. Look at every line. If you see a transfer you don't recognize, any amount, any destination, call your bank that same day. Number 2, do not share passwords. Not with children. Not with anyone you trust completely. Love is not a reason to give someone your financial access. If you need a backup plan for emergencies, talk to your bank about a trusted contact designation. It gives a named person the right to be notified by the bank if something is wrong without giving them access to the account. That is the right tool, not a shared password. Number 3, know what a cosigner means. When I added Bradley to my checking account, I thought it meant he could help in an emergency. It meant he could access it freely. There is a difference. Talk to your bank about the exact permissions you are granting before you sign anything. Number 4, if you suspect something, report it. You can reach out to the National Elder Fraud. You can report to your state's Attorney General. You can contact a certified fraud examiner through the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. You can go directly to your bank's fraud department. You will be taken seriously. You are protected by law. Do not wait for certainty. Report when something feels wrong and let the investigators find the truth. Number 5, shame has no place here. I spent the hardest 2 weeks of this story carrying the knowledge alone because I was ashamed. Ashamed that my son had done this. Ashamed that I hadn't caught it sooner. Ashamed that a woman who spent 31 years organizing a library and raising a child alone could sit at her kitchen table and not see what was happening 6 feet away in her own bank account. I was not foolish. I was trusting. There is a difference. And the people who steal from you, especially the ones who love you, they count on that difference. They count on your trust being the door that stays open. I still love my son. I want to be clear about that. I love him the way a mother loves a child she has held and worried over and prayed for since the day he was born. That love does not disappear because of what he did. But love is not permission. Love is not a blank check. Love does not require you to stay silent while someone empties the account you built to protect yourself in your old age. Bradley and I are in contact. Carefully, slowly. He calls on Sundays still. The calls are shorter now, quieter, but they happen. Maybe that means something. I don't know yet. What I know is this. I am sitting in my kitchen on New Year's morning. The yellow curtains are catching the light. The cardinals are at the feeder. My coffee is warm. My savings account, new number, new bank. My name only has $31,000 back in it. And I have never once in my 68 years felt more like myself than I do sitting here right now. Because I did not go quietly. I did not fold. I did not keep the peace at the cost of everything I had worked for. I called the investigator, and the investigator came. If you are watching this and something in your own life felt familiar, the pressure to stay quiet, the fear of being called difficult, the feeling that asking for what is right makes you the problem, I want you to hear me. You are not the problem. You are the answer. Thank you for watching. If this story helped you or made you feel something real, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And drop one word in the comments, just one word. That describes how you feel right now. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next video.